Oh, thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. It is amazing what they'll read if you write it yourself. So I appreciate you all coming. We've got the Teaks, the Greeks, we've got old people, we've got authority figures. That's what we're here for. This presentation is about neurodiversity. And Dr. O'Brien asked that the first 30 minutes be about autism. So we can do that. We will oblige. The first 30 minutes will be about autism. And the lady on the screen, the beautiful lady on the screen, is an autism expert. And the other one is me playing at work. When you can play at work, you know you found the right thing. And I'm hoping today we can do that. When you guys fall into play and you realize even the challenging play while you're at work, you found your profession. You found your purpose. So when you want to know more about autism, you ask someone with autism. And thanks to people like these brilliant individuals like Anne in STAR, this new organization at CBU, for individuals with autism spectrum disorders, we now are hearing more from individuals with autism because communication is now much more accessible. There is a variety of ways to communicate. Verbal is not always it. Us old school types, verbal communication is what said you made good on IQs and all kinds of stuff. We know now there's more, and thank God there's more. And I'd like to thank all the people who have the kind of STARS mind for my iPhone. I love it. Neurodiversity matters. It's more than good. Neurodiversity is God. Neurodiversity is by design. It's like biodiversity. There's no standard brain, just like there's no standard flower or dog. Okay, there's that poodle thing, but I'm thinking that's like a marketing ploy. So, Barb Rettenbach has severe autism. She doesn't speak. That's why on radio shows, I get to be the one talking. But she types. One letter at a time. You in the good seats who got the book, that took her 10 years to write. 10 years. Now, my parts didn't take that long, but you know, I've got, they're also more pedestrian. But hers are so dense with profound wisdom and a minute attention to detail that brings us perspectives we don't usually have as neurotypical walkie-talkies. And why I was so attracted to her. It's one of those lenses in life. Individuals with autistic labels aren't devoid of humor. You just have to hear. And Barb, as you will find out, is hilarious. So book number 2, as you in the cheap seats just got the handout, book number 2, you got an excerpt from that. Book number 2 is even more funny. Because we were like, okay, I've still got a profession, you know, I've got a family. But you know what? Now my kid has grown. He's 6'3". That's about to start driving because of Barb. The practice is going so well. I've got a waiting list out way past this next year. I'm like, let's go for it. So if you think this book was non-PC, hold on. the next book, and you can get it for your. Don't get it for your mother. Maybe your peers. Maybe in the psychology department, educated people. This is why I love talking to college groups. Because you're grown, so you're educated and you're smart and you get all the references. But you're so mentally agile. You're actually smarter than us old people because you haven't figured out to put up the wall yet. You're open to new perspectives. Plus the, jokes about the Pope and other things won't be as offensive. Now, you guys being CBU, sent questions. Okay, nerds, y'all sent me 4 questions and we're going to make sure to address those in that. Because the first 30 minutes of this presentation is going to be about autism. And then the next 30 minutes we're going to open it up to be anything you like. My specialty areas are anxiety, ADHD, and dyslexia. We can talk about anything you like. We can talk about mechanical engineering, but you may see a glazed over look for me. But that's all right. We can discuss anything we like. That's the beauty of being grown. It's progress. We are making progress. We are hearing and learning from people with autism. Progress is everywhere. I've talked to you about our iPhone. The Buck. Dr. Marine tells me the Buck is now serving beer. Yeah. Oh, yeah, the book is selling beer and annulments. Fantastic. Okay, so I'll tell you what, after the presentation, I appreciate you guys coming. I know you could be taking a nap or something joyous. After the presentation, we'll annulments and beer on me at the Bucks, and we'll just keep the conversation going. If you like, I'll say as long as you like signing books. It might get a little sloppy, but it's all right. Okay? Hey. Participants need to be 21, healthy enough for a second marriage, and other restrictions may apply. The causes. Now, this is a raucous debate, and it has been going on for a while. It started by a Brit. His name, Andrew Wakefield, a gastrointestinal specialist, found a connection between MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella vaccination, and regressive autism. MMR is usually given around 12 months. Regressive autism usually kicks in around 18 months. See, this is the beautiful thing. Y'all know this. I love talking to an educated audience. James was like, yeah, we know. We took the test on that. We know this. Okay. So the temporal correlation, and then it went from there. Why did it go from there? I tell you what, since we have 30 minutes, we'll do a more succinct approach, but this is a new book that just came out. You know, when you send your book off to the publisher and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm like the second book on neurodiversity, and then this shit comes out, and it's 565 pages. It came out like 2 weeks ago, but it's fantastic. But it is about 535 pages long, or 535 pages if you're dyslexic. College is only 4 years long. So, and your parents are praying it's only 4 years long. You know, your dad is wearing out that rosary bead. Please, God, let it be 4 years long. And Mom was like, you know, Aunt Teresa was right. 2 kids might have been enough. So I'm not putting this on you. But if you happen to be on a long car trip, you get you an audiobook. Maybe you've got a little dyslexia like me, and audiobooks are the way to go. I turn them up on speed times too, by the way. Because we get things, reading may be slow, but if you got dyslexia, sometimes audiobooks are the best. So if you're driving and find yourself driving to Memphis for your 30th high school reunion, could happen. The audiobook is great. And it is a exhaustive explanation of autism, how we got to where we are, and where these numbers came up, the epidemic. But we're going to give a brief, there's a sweet little old lady who's going to tell you a little 2-minute brief on it, and then we can discuss the causes for autism that we know now today. And thank you again, Jan, for this technology.
In 2012, the CDC, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, estimates that 1 in 88 children is diagnosed with autism spectrum disorders. Now that's up 23% from the reports in 2009, and up 78% from the reports from 2007. That is the multi-billion-dollar question. Epidemiologists around the world report several probable factors. One is how it's diagnosed. In the 1990s, the diagnosis was changed from autism to autism spectrum disorders, which is a broader spectrum of symptoms containing more subtle manifestations. Thus, diagnostic substitutions became a factor. That is, labeling someone with autism today, who 30 years ago would have been labeled as retarded. Greater awareness also contributes. Greater awareness from parents, physicians, and teachers also contributes to the rise. Parental age and myriad environmental factors have also not been ruled out. The CDC reports no causal relationship between vaccinations and autism. The vaccine for measles, mumps, and rubella, MMR, is found only to have a temporal relationship at this time. MMR is usually given at about 12 months. The peak time for diagnosing autism is about 18 months, thus the time, correlation, and suspicion. Education is currently the primary treatment for autism. Educational treatment is most effective when administered early and with perseverance, connection, and commitment across multiple environments.
That was your next question. What's it like? It's cool. And the perspectives are so fresh. Individuals with autism don't often care about what others think. or what others are doing. So the ideas are more than outside of the box. That kind of thing. Barb always has the best quotes. She's always thinking. She's a thinker. I'm more of a doer. She types and tweets. Autism is her prism, not her prison. Now, Barb lives next door to me. There was this horrible old lady next door. I don't mean that in a non-PC way, but I mean, she was mean. She would like squirt my son off this, get out of my yard, seriously. And I was like, wow, this is priceless. Because you don't usually see that kind of crotchetness. Anyway, the old lady next door died, and I'm like, Barb, you got to buy this house. And so Barb goes to the house. So Barb lives next door to me, and that's her swing. And she is a contemplative. And she thinks best when she's focusing. Barb is overstimulated. Most individuals with autism spectrum disorder are overstimulated. People like ADHD, clearly a spaz, we're often understimulated. So we are seeking thrills, novel environments, climbing the bell tower when, that's not necessarily advised. I learned, so if I think best when I'm moving, move. If you think best when you're moving, move. If you think best when you're swinging, swing. Know how you think and plan your life accordingly. You script it. She's taught us so much. And not just Barb, but for HIPAA reasons, I can't put up all the clients who I've learned from, but it's always a two-way street. Like language. What I've learned from individuals with autism is language is not always their default. That's not necessarily their most efficient way to communicate. Because of Barb is prescribed in that book. If I could give that book to all the undergrads in the world, I would. And if you find some undergrads who want to read it and they want you email me and I'll send you a book, because it's not about the cost. It's her story is real, and we haven't seen that before. These are fresh thoughts. What she has taught us that language is not effective. It's not how she thinks. She's now thinking in language to communicate, to reach out with us. With language, I also learned this. Because of her fame, people read the book and then they come to us and like, we'd like what Barb got. But because what she prescribed, you engineers, thank God it's not rocket science. It is straightforward stuff, so we're doing it, and the people are getting profound gains in way less than 10 years now because of what Barb prescribed. She says that language is not their default, it's not necessarily how they think, and we need to be mindful of our language, us walkie-talkies. Nobody likes to be talked at. If your client is a person who is nonverbal or less verbal, adapt to that as you would a social conversation, Good Lord, a teak knows a social conversation. Can you do it without a drink? Let me see. Here we go. Now, if we're having a social conversation, we remember the teaks there, Conrad. You adapt. It's like neuro-linguistic programming. Without mocking them, you kind of meet their standard. If they're not talking, you don't have to talk. Language, less is more when you're dealing with clients who are nonverbal or less verbal, because that is not their default. So you might type a little something. You type a little something. You pack it back and forth. You can also get into their rhythm without mocking. I have a 60-year-old client with OCD and nonverbal autism who came to me after reading Barb's book at 59, said yes and no, maybe intermittently, maybe it was accurate, plopped down. He was in an institution. I just had enough money to come, and we got him a cut deal to come to me once a week. But because of what Barb said, I'm like, okay, what do we start with? Started with letter tiles. Type this letter, see this letter, say this letter. Type this word, say this word. Type this sentence, say this word. Flashcard, I'll show you a picture, you say a word. He now speaks. He now writes in full sentences. He types on his own. I'm not talking facilitated communication. I mean, he types. So they're in there. We got to listen. We have to shut up and listen. Hypersensitivities. We can adapt to that. We can accommodate, to tap in, to welcome these brilliant minds to our world, to help change the world a little more to our liking. We can, in our practice, we don't wear perfumes. Not just because I'm a big old lesbian, I like less is more, but it's, we don't, because it's overstimulating. We have subdued lighting. We have the right kind of lamps. We have noise protectors. We have, you can be sensitive to that because they're trying. They are meeting you more than halfway. And pity, Pity serves no one. They don't want pity. They want connection like we all do. I believe, and at pushing 50, I believe connection is the key to life. And chill time. She also taught us that being out, coming out, being with the psychologist, being with their peers, trying to make friends, and that's another thing. We think, oh, they want to be by themselves, they want to be by themselves. She's like, loneliness is the most predominant side effect of our unique design. It is, she says, it's infinitely easier to be alone than make the arduous effort to communicate you wish to be apart. Can we see that? So if you can make the connection, you will benefit too. If you can make that connection and they're no longer alone, fear is diminished and growth is imminent. I have been blessed to see it thousands of times. Her radio show, Loud Mute Radio, is now heard internationally, over 55 countries, and you would not believe the beautiful things people write in with. She is being heard. She is speaking the truths of many. And mental freshness. Life is all about balance. As a psychologist, you need to be fresh. So schedule your day however you can. If you need to take a nap in the middle of the day, if you need to go for a run, do it. I go to the bathroom between every session and wash my hands, not in like, Shakespearean dramatic way, but to clear and make myself ready and open for the next person, and to be strong like a palm so you can hear them. May I be precisely what that individual needs me to be at that moment. And it works with your children and with your family and your partner. Be there, be mindful, and be present. Individuals on the autism spectrum often can teach us a lot about being, just being. And that is a beautiful way to build connection with people who struggle with communication. And autism spectrum disorders, by definition, struggle with communication. And humility. Oh, when y'all first get your PhDs, y'all gonna be, oh my God, I bought boats and cars and all kinds of things. Guys, you are not treating people with their autism. You're connecting with them. You are learning. But I've got a big learning curve. I'm learning more from them than they are from me. It's about connection. So let's get out of that hierarchical way of training. And we are all guilty of that, especially as baby docs, when we first get our PhDs and things, because we have been trained in the medical model and medical language, disability, diagnostic, treatment. Do you know that is very offensive to individuals with autism spectrum disorder? There is an entire movement. I didn't know. Oh, I know now. A couple of TV appearances, and we're getting this mail and these things. She's just another walkie-talkie doc. Thinks she knows everything. And I'm like, oh my. I didn't realize our medical model language is offensive. So now I try to say individuals with autism labels, and I'm open to other things that we can be more clear with our language and precise. The intent is the key, so they let me keep trying and keep learning. But let's be mindful of our medical model language, because the neurodiversity movement is about, hey, we're different, not less. So a treatment, a cure, these things may not serve your client relationship. Oh, that was gone backwards. Hold on. Technology only works if you have a person smart enough to use it. Okay, so the other question, what degree is most advisable if I want to work with people with autism? All service is needed. As Dolly Parton says, I'm from East Tennessee, we love Dolly Parton. You want to talk about giving away free books? Oh my God, she literally gives away to everybody who's like up till they're 5 years old. So we're doing our best to educate East Tennessee, and healthcare, the whole bit. Dolly Parton says, find out who you are and be that on purpose. So what excites you? What's fun for you? Another DP, for those of you who Oh, see, some of your minds, y'all are just trashy minds. This is not my internet porn lecture. Another DP is Dorothy Parker. That's what I do have an internet porn lecture, but maybe next visit, maybe my next reunion. Dolly Parton and Dorothy Parker. Dorothy Parker says, the cure for boredom is curiosity. There is no cure for curiosity. Thank God. What are you curious about? What do you like to study? Because there's a need for that. I chose educational psychology for a variety of reasons, but mostly it's Conrad Brombeck has a degree in it. Dr. Brombeck was one of the reasons that I chose that path, and we can talk more about him later. Or we can talk about it now, but it makes me cry every time, and I really worked hard on this mascara. I use those medieval things that made your things go up and all that. I don't know. I'm like, these straight girls do this shit, and these heels. Listen, I got comfortable shoes in here in a minute, but I didn't want to scare y'all. I honestly do, actually. Where are they? Let's see. Yeah, we're all teachers. And it just takes one. You can be that one for somebody. It just takes one. Conrad Brombeck was that one for me. Where you are now. I was there. Okay, I was probably a little further back than y'all, but he let me know, oh, you can do and be more. Now, truly, I could have done and been more at that point, but he let me know, do and be more. And so I did. When we treat individuals as their highest self, you help them to become that. Barb said, I am disguised as a poor thinker. So I treated her as a brilliant thinker, just like you did. And she surpassed, far surpassed, every expectation I had. And so has every client I've worked with since then. And the docs in our practice. I make them read this book. So another reason I chose educational psychology is I'm not a big fan of working for other people. So on that, educational psychology, it's a pretty fluid discipline where you can choose your specialty area and what you were interested in. So I picked and chose a lot, as she read on that. Not all of that's fraudulent, some of that is real. I did all that extra studying because it interested me. I was curious about it. So find out what you're curious about. If it's the pathology that gets you, go clinical. If you want to make things more efficient and change the world that way, do industrial. What makes you, when do you get meshed in play? When are you having as much fun as I am at your job? If you are, you're on to something. But that's what educational psychologists do, is you get to study all the research you want to study, all the science and neuroscience and psychology, and you get to share it with your clients, and they build on their strengths and find their own solutions. Okay, your other question was, what should I be doing as an undergraduate? Now, connection is the best treatment for autism, as we talked about. And again, it is, you will learn as much from them as they will from you. So reach out. If you're a Psi Chi, extrovert, teak, all a party and stuff, connect with one of these mechanical engineering types. First of all, when you need technology help or other things like that, they're handy. It's a beautiful compliment. You complement each other. If you're an overstimulated person, seek an understimulated person. I am Regina Gadomski. I know that's a big name on this campus, and it's going to be bigger. You may have seen her in Science Lab, the Regina Gadomski Healy lab. That was my best friend. She still is my best friend. I'm staying in her house right now. It's nice. She turned out real well. We were roommates here and best friends since high school. My point is, oh my God, she's an introvert. but brilliant. She connected. We were opposites. I'm telling you, reach out and connect. You will both benefit and change the world a little more to your liking. I literally had to tell Regina, like when going down the halls, and I said, Regina, people think you are a bitch. You got to smile, look, and she was just shy. You've got to smile, at least say their names. Well, okay. If you can say their name, well, I don't know if I'm thinking of other things. I don't know if I can say their name. Smile then. Say hi. Okay, so we got past that. Now she has a good friend group. We complement each other. And Lord knows how many issues she helped me on my, I have precious little frontal lobe. And that coupled with a great deal of beer from the Tigs was, she helped me a lot also. I'm just saying. Bail money is handy at 3 a.m. Okay. So live connection, live teaching it. As Barb said, we are all teachers. And what can you do now? Study what excites you. This is a little much, and Caitlin's going to use this particular one to see over the dash, but read what excites you. Podcast. Oh my God, the security guy, Beefcake, carried the stuff in for me like that, and I was like, I'm just going to carry the shoes. And he was out there. His name is Cash. He's at your, you know him, Cash? Okay. We weren't talking biblical ways. Like, don't embarrass me in front of everybody like this. Okay. Cash was asking about podcasts, and I said, oh, yeah, that's a great way to learn. If you're dyslexic or you think best when moving, there is a huge amount of brilliant knowledge out there in podcasts. Go for a jog. If you think best for moving, listen to those podcasts. And don't forget Loud Mute Radio, because Barbara's got some Lulus on there. And again, it's from the people who have actually lived it and are telling us how they got through anxiety, how they got through hypersensitivity. We've had Temple Grandin on there. She talked about how she got through anxiety, oversensitivities, and depression. Andrew Solomon, who I think is the most brilliant thinker alive today. I don't know all y'all that well yet. So Andrew Solomon for now. He's written Far From the Tree and an Atlas for Depression, which literally I give to all my teenager and above depression clients because it is that profound. He gets it. He has been through it and he figured a way. That is part of who he is. That's part of his neurodiversity. But wow, it makes him very compassionate and thoughtful of others because that is the way his brain, that's his brain style. So seek information out. You will never waste knowledge. Now that's going to be another fine piece of knowledge. Around December, this book comes out, and I think it's Barb's best work. She just really lets it go, and I have really let it go. I'm like, fuck it, because you just have fun now. I'm like, we've already been psychologists and serious, and we've been successful in that. At this age in my life, if you want to be more whimsical and fun, maybe that helps the medicine go down. Be who you want to be. I assure you, you will thoroughly enjoy it, and you will never have been more productive. Now, I'm going to push this button, and what's supposed to happen is you're going to hear a little ad for Loud Mute Radio.
Welcome to Loud Mute Radio. I'm Lois Petrosky here with our bright star, Barb Rettenbach. Hold on, she's typing. Not our show, you. Not our show, you idiot. This is not our show. It is an ad for our book and our show on Jennifer's podcast, Big Girl Panties. Got it. Okay, please listen to Loud Mute Radio. It's a fun and very educational podcast. And one of us is uber smart and, hold on. Barbara's typing again. And the other talks. Okay. Yeah, one of us is uber smart, and as Barb says, the other talk. Find out more about our book, our show, and us at www.muleandmuseproductions.com. Please tune in to Loud Mute Radio for all your psychological and nonverbal autistic needs. Plus a whole lot of brilliant guests who are excited about what they do. Hey, now buying our book, I Might Be You, An Exploration of Autism and Connection by Barb Rettenbach and Lois Petrosky, PhD, is also a great idea. Barb, please end the ad with one of your trademark moments of silence.
Fortune favors the bold. Be yourself boldly. Now remember, we're going to open us up to some whatever questions you like at this time, and then we're meeting at the Buck for beer and an omelets on me. What do you want to talk about? Yes, sir.
How did you get into it? Like, how did you know you wanted to work with like people with autism?
That is an interesting question. I was in a kind of a dream job for me. I like athletic stuff and was reasonably athletic, and I was the psychologist for the athletes at UT, the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. And great gig, doing a lot of ADHD, dyslexia, all these student athletes, and felt a little short most of the time, but it was a great gig. And she had just gotten kicked out of her institution. She was in a Stewart Home institution. Her personal attendant got caught smoking pot. I'm really thinking Barb did too, but I didn't bother to test her. They kicked her out. And so she was 30 years old. She's going home to her parents, and they were no spring chickens. They were not ready for, she's back. I mean, species smearing, the whole bit. So, and they are, rich is not the word. We're talking old money. So they're like, oh, we're fixing this. Headhunters. So headhunters called me. Headhunters called me at UT, and I'm like, I got a great gig here, but I'm intrigued. I was curious. And I thought, all right. And now they wanted a full-time job. They wanted like an Annie Sullivan. Well, they got like an Ellen DeGeneres kind of thing. So I don't dance near as well, though. So I started, but that mental freshness thing, I wanted to keep my day job, so what I brought in was a team of people. And shooting nerds in a barrel at UT in the PhD programs. I'd get a PhD from this, a PhD from that, and have them each work 2 hours with her, because you need to be fresh and agile, because she grabbed, she pinched and stuff at that time when she was completely nonverbal. Wow, she was aggressive, yeah. So we did that, and that's how I started working with her. And we just started writing, and because that was the only way for her to communicate. She started writing, and I'm like, and her behaviors. Once she started writing, she found that she could be heard. And once she could be heard, she got empowered, and she found purpose. She realized that her purpose in life was to write and to share her story with others. And her story, her process is her story. And she started writing volume. And me, I was taught like Dr. O'Brien is teaching you meticulous session notes, and so I had bounds of it. Just these 3-ring binders of her work, just typing. And we turned those into a book the book you have that took 10 years. So that's how we started. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Could you talk about the particular challenges that college students living with autism face when adjusting to college life?
A lot of individuals with autism labels deal well with structure, and boy, you're up to your own a lot on structure. So I think not having set times to be somewhere unless they create their own structure was one of the challenges. And the social stuff, like Regina in the hall, it's a lot. And it's not all the Teague's fault. I mean, there's a lot of parties. It's a lot out there, stimulation-wise, different professors and things. So, and stress. A lot of individuals with autism labels have hypersensitive amygdalas. So their fear response and anxiety is a little higher. I have not worked with an individual on the spectrum who didn't struggle with anxiety. So all that with the workload and being social and on, which expends energy, whereas some of these, James, he's probably fueled by social connection, and that energizes her, where it might drain an individual with autism spectrum. So there are several factors that would make that. But how can we make it better? As the counselors, and several of you there, and by the way, I'm sorry, I cannot discern who is, well, some of the old people I'm getting, yeah, but who is like staff and college kids, because once you get to a certain age, Now, those counselors who are here, and I appreciate you being here, you can do that by speaking less, meeting them with their rhythm. If they bob a little without being disrespectful, bob a little, get in their rhythm, take their pace. You can slow it down a notch. God knows you can slow it down a notch. And get a structure together, collaborative problem solving. Be patient and be heard. If they communicate best by email at 3 a.m., you email them, you text them. There's a variety of ways to communicate, a variety of ways. And inclusion. And they don't have to be imperfect to be included. I hope that answers your question. Raise your hand if you're a counselor with Miss, oh my gosh, a lot of grown people. See, I can't even tell the difference. Okay, you still look good, y'all.